Ukraine is kicking Russia's teeth in, and we've got to talk about it. Let's go bold. I'm Scott Patton. Thank you all for joining us today for the Go Bold podcast. Please consider hitting that like, subscribe, and share button on our YouTube channel, and we'd really appreciate it. And we thank you guys for all the feedback that you gave us on the last Ukraine war podcast that we did a couple of days ago, and I wanted to give you guys an update of kind of what I'm seeing and some things that I've seen over there, and I just wanted to kind of reset everybody from what's happened in the last 3 days. I'm just going to tell you guys, as you see that picture of that burning tank right there in Russia, Russia is losing this fight right now at the strategic, the operational, and the tactical level of war. And now, not going to say that Russia will eventually win, and they probably will, and I assume that they probably will. But I'll tell you right now, what you're seeing in Ukraine, I think, has got a lot of people surprised, and especially, I think, Vladimir Putin. Putin, as you know, has just recently put his nuclear forces on high alert. That's what he claims, and I think it's really a sign of what maybe is going on strategically in Russia right now. You're seeing a great deal of protest. You're seeing this is not going as planned with Putin, and it makes you want to wonder. And I've really not seen this coming with his army either. You guys know that I didn't, going into this about 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, we did another podcast in this, and I didn't really think that he would attack, especially. We're going to talk about it here in a second. The complex attack that he did, and it's not paying off for him right now. In fact, I'll tell you right now, Putin's trying to put a brave face on this, but he's getting his teeth kicked in, and that's part of the reason I think he's kind of bolstering his rhetoric with his nuclear forces. But before we get into some of the tactics and the operational level things that are happening, I want to talk about a couple of things. I put out a post on Facebook just the other day, and I wanted really for us to really pray for Ukraine. And some of the things that I ask and we prayed for in our church was, number one, awaken your international church. And a lot of times when you see tragedies and events unfolding in the world, a lot of times it's a great time to spread the gospel. Number two, I want to pray. I want everybody to pray that God would eliminate these ungodly, unbiblical, unstable leaders. Wipe them off the face of the earth. Get rid of them. And that should be our prayer to God. Get rid of those unstable leaders that are so evil. And I'd also pray that God would just surround His most powerful angels around the Ukrainian church. But also, guys, I'll tell you, there's a lot of Christians in Russia, and this is really bad for them. But the last thing I'll tell you, and really what we're going to talk about here in a little bit, is we've got to make sure that our other adversaries don't take this opportunity strategically when they smell the weakness in the U.S. leadership right now to take advantage of this. And I'm specifically talking about Taiwan. I'm specifically talking about North Korea. I'm specifically talking about Iran. So let's pray that cooler heads will prevail in this. But one of the things I want to focus on right now is the incredible acts of bravery. And I want to start with this picture you see of this 80-year-old man. This 80-year-old man is volunteering to fight in the Ukrainian army. And one of the things he said he did not want his children to live and his grandchildren to live in a communist country. And I don't blame him, and it's worth having a free country, guys, we take for granted. And I just thought it was incredible. This 80-year-old man, he just showed up at the recruiting station with a couple of sandwiches and an extra change of clothes and basically a toothbrush and a toothpaste. So that's what he did, and I think that's pretty incredible. But the other thing I want to highlight to you is This professional boxer, and I think I'm probably going to butcher his name, Vitaly Klitschko. He is also the mayor of Kiev, and he is also a world champion boxer. And apparently, the story goes he was out of the Ukraine, he was out of the country, but he came back, went to the town that he's a mayor of, and volunteered and is fighting right now, toe to toe with the soldiers. And I just think that's incredible. It's an incredible act of bravery. The other thing, of course, President Zelensky. Now, you see that picture of him. He's getting a lot of kudos because how many times do you see a politician will just stand up and fight anymore? You don't. They usually run to their bunkers. They cower. And you see that with a lot of politicians. And now I will tell you, it's a breath of fresh air to see what Zelensky's doing. Now, let me just say, guys, up front, he's pretty corrupt. I'm just going to be honest with you, but. And like in many wars, he's our ally now because Putin is worse. And what you see a lot of times in warfare, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I'll just tell you, if you think that Zelensky is this nice little guy that's going to be loving and kind to his neighbor, he's not that guy. But he is taking on an evil dictator right now, and his courage is, I will just tell you, honorable, and it's a breath of fresh air to see. He loves his country. I'll just tell you that, and he's sitting there. He's going toe to toe with the Russians right now in Kiev. Now, let me just say this, and so I think that is honorable, and I think a lot of people would say that is honorable, whether he's corrupt or not. He's at least he's standing there fighting. He's not running. He was offered for the U.S. to take him out of the country, and he refused to do it. So kudos to him. The other people I want to recognize is we've got a lot of Southern Baptist pastors and missionaries in Ukraine right now, and they've chosen to stay. And as you see that picture of the missionary there sharing the gospel, I think that's incredible. And we need to just pray for our pastors and our missionaries. Now, let's start with this, and you're going to look at this picture here, where you see this. You see the situational map. Now, let me just say this up front: as you see that big map, and you see Russia's kind of, you're seeing that situation. I'm going to tell you guys, Russia's strategy that I see here. I'm very I can't believe what they're doing, because it is this. You see there on the slide there. That's a 4-pronged attack in a country that's about the size of Texas. Okay, you've got some very, very large urban population centers. And you saw this attack, and it was with the land, sea, and air. And the complexities of trying to coordinate an attack like that, guys, I'm just going to tell you, it's hard. And the terrain there is very tough. And then you're going to get in urban areas. And I'll just tell you guys, I was shocked that the Russian army did this. I was shocked that but Putin's probably calling the shots, and he's a madman right now, and this whole idea that Putin's doing this is kind of this whole idea that he is that madman right now and he's losing it. There can be a lot of truth to that, but I will also tell you, I used to make the saying that dictators with death wishes are dead. Putin's cagey. He's evil. He's an old KGB colonel, and he's not operating, I think, with all of his senses right now, because this was just strategically dumb the way they did this attack. I'll just tell you right now, it is. It's hard to coordinate, and it's very complex. You have to have a very, very good army to pull this off. And here's what I'm going to talk about here in a second. He doesn't have the logistics to do it either. Now, here's what the price has been. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, if you look at this, when you try to get some information on what's going on in Ukraine, the best sources are not the U.S. sources. The best thing to do is go to the European countries' sites. A lot of them are in English. You can find them on YouTube. I will tell you, Israel has some great commentary on the war right now, and they're pretty accurate. If you choose the American resources, Fox, CNN, they're always kind of tainted, and they're always a little bit behind, and it's usually just tainted with a bunch of other hot air in politics. Where you go to these other countries, they give you the data pretty fast, and it kind of gives you why the U.S. media right now is just in turmoil. But that's what I would do, folks. Now, let me just kind of give you, and this is hard to confirm that this is according to the Israeli Times. And some sources they had, and this is what is just absolutely unbelievable. In the past week, Russia has 27 aircraft shot down, 26 helicopters. The Ukrainians have destroyed 146 tanks. They've had 706 armored fighting vehicles destroyed. They've had some of their anti-aircraft systems destroyed. They've lost several drones. They've had two really, I think these were gunships, boats that were destroyed. But here's the other thing that just blows my mind. Russia has had 4,300 soldiers killed in the last 5 days. Guys, I want you to let this sink in for a second. Just to give you an idea, and I don't remember exactly the number. We lost in the years that we were in Iraq, the 12, 13 years that we were in Iraq, we lost 4,300 soldiers total. Or I'm sorry, I think it was 4,600. Russia has lost in the last 5 days 4,300 soldiers. That is just mind-boggling. And to say that they're getting their teeth kicked in would be an understatement. And I'm going to tell you, the Ukrainian people, they're going bold, and it's amazing to watch this, because as an old colonel myself, and studying the Russian army for a number of years, Ukraine is fighting Russia like I always thought Russia would fight the United States. The things that they are doing, they're really decentralized. They are fighting in dirt teams. They are doing unconventional things, and it shows you the love of country that they have and their freedom that they value. They are doing some things to the Russian army that is just mind-boggling, and I don't know why the Russian army is fighting Ukraine the way they are now. I'm sure that their generals were probably trying to give Putin advice, and it's just, sometimes the civilian leaders just don't listen, because I don't see them as that inept, but right now they look totally inept as they come in there. Now, one of the things that is turning the tide, and I will tell you this is the overwhelming thing that's happened, is the Javelin missiles. The Javelin missiles are absolutely wreaking havoc on the Russian army right now. Now, you guys could call this politics, you could call it whatever, but it was a gift from President Trump back in 2019. In fact, I think that was, if you look back at the impeachment narrative, it was, it was the Javelin missiles that he sold, because here's the problem. Back in 2014, basically all he got from the Obama administration was all Ukraine got was blankets and some bullets. They didn't get any sophisticated weapon systems. But President Trump sold, I want to say, about $140 million worth of Javelin missiles, or maybe more. It was probably more than that. It was a lot. And you remember that he was accused of having, the quid pro quo for the Javelin missiles. If you give us some information on Hunter Biden, or you prosecute Hunter Biden for his laptop, and nothing ever happened to that. But Trump got impeached, but the bottom line is Ukraine got missiles, and I will tell you, they are the gift that keeps on giving, because they are wreaking havoc. Now you look at that picture of that. This is what the Javelin missile is, and just to kind of give you, it was, I believe it was Lockheed Martin and Raytheon are the one that developed this several years ago, and it's. I'm going to tell you guys, this is a sophisticated weapon. I've seen it fired. Seen it up front. Cost about $80,000 per pop. It's a fire and forget system, so they basically have a GPS tracker on it, and it finds their targets that they're looking for. And once the target's acquired, you could, with their sight systems, the missile's basically going to lock in on that target, and it allows the crew, which is usually like in a 2-man dirt team, to run for cover and run away. And so what happens is it is very, very hard to find these dirt teams. And they're not just shooting at tanks, folks. They're shooting at this is what's killing all the Russian logistic convoys. They're shooting artillery pieces with this. They are doing these fire and forgets. And remember, guys, this terrain is horrible. And the way that the Russian army is moving through these hills and these mountains and these roads, I can't believe the way that some of the things I've seen and the columns that they're moving in, and they're not spread out, and they're not. It just doesn't look like it's tactical at all. It looks like it was, a FTXer going on in Southern Europe. I mean, it blows my mind how bad the Russians are fighting in this, and I just expect to see a Russian army that way, because I'll tell you guys, the way they fought in 2014 impressed me. They did some things in 2014 that blew my mind. But they're doing some things right now. They look slow, they look lethargic, and they look like they're just discombobulated. Now, I don't know, and this is just what I'm seeing on on reports from the TV. Now, here's the deal. However, let's go back to the javelins for a second. It's a armor piercing, so it lets it lets the survivability of the crew. And like I said, guys, it costs about $80,000. I heard a report that Germany's trying to get them some more, and the U.S. now is trying to get them some more. But I'm just going to tell you, it's changing the day. You're seeing that it's changing the war right now with that Javelin missile. The other thing too, you're seeing, and you see that picture of the convoy there with this is what's happening here. And see, the terrain allows them to hide in these places, and I mean, just wreak havoc on them. And this Javelin missile is winning the day. But the other thing too is I want to talk about the Stinger missile. That when we got back when Russia was fighting Afghanistan, the Stinger missile, or not the Stinger missile at the time, but the air defense missiles that they had at the time, some of them were Stingers. I think they got some Stingers back then. But that changed the complexity of that whole war. And that's what you're seeing kind of with the fight now. It's turned into this type of war, this ugly, this terrain-centered warfare that we've seen so many times when superpowers get in there. But you're going to see this. You're going to see according to reports now, there's been 4 M24 attack helicopters that have been shot down the last 4 days. Now, I'm just going to tell you, the M24s are very similar to our Apache helicopters. They have similar to like a Hellfire missile system on them. They also have, I think it's a 20 millimeter cannon that's on there. But I wanted to watch this video that we were able to see on Twitter. So go ahead and watch this video, and you're going to see kind of what a Stinger missile can do. Watch this.
Сука, мразь нахуй. Что там, мразь? Опа.
Диви, покрутил,
Опа,
покрутил.
опа.
Он пойдет. Падает. На саге, ебать.
На саге падай вверх.
Ёбаный в рот.
Бля.
Now, here's the thing. I don't think Putin ever realized he didn't envision this at all. And he is. You're seeing reports that he's just livid. He is losing his mind because they're getting their teeth kicked in so bad. So what's happened now? Putin is getting embarrassed on the international order, on the international stage. But one of the other things that I saw that just fascinated me is Putin had taken the Chechnya units, and I believe it was the 141st Motorized Brigade from the Chechnya Special Forces. Now, these are feared feared fighters, folks. I mean, they are, and they live for warfare. They do, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. The Chechenian fighters that Putin sent into Ukraine are actually Muslim, and they are Muslim fighters, and they are recognized as some of the best special forces in the world, and they're brutal, they're mean, they're just nasty. And he sent, I think, an entire brigade over there to fight. Now, their commander is a guy, you're going to see his picture there. His name is Magom Toshov, and you see his picture there and his big beard, and he is the commander of the Chechenian Notorious Special Forces, and he was commanding these kill squads that were sent into Ukraine. But his first day on the ground, he's in there fighting, and he gets killed, according to multiple sources. Now, in the report that I got, I think was from the Israeli Times also, but it also said that the reports that were coming that General Toshov was killed came from Chechnyan soldiers that were captured by the Ukrainians. This is just blows my mind that he would take these Muslim soldiers from Chechnya, which they are good. I'm just going to tell you, and they're battle hardened. They love to fight. They are, but it blows my mind that he took this Chechnyan Special Forces group into Ukraine to fight. Now, I will tell you also, Ramazan Kadyrov is the leader of Chechnya, and he's kind of politically in bed with Putin. So they're just notorious for their brutalities, and they have jihadist fighters. They have all types of deals, and it is amazing to me that they're getting their teeth kicked in right now. And the other thing that they did, they came in with a deck of cards, kind of like we did in the first Gulf War, or the second Gulf War, a deck of cards of all the key leaders of Ukrainian officials and who they were supposed to kill. And so now what has happened is a lot of these guys have gotten captured or killed, and not to say that at the end of the day they're not going to come in and take these captive, a lot of these folks, but these guys. But I mean, it's pretty impressive what the Ukrainian army has done. Now, it's really unclear how this happened, but the reports that I saw on Twitter were, the general was out leading up front, and he just got shot. So we'll see. Now, the other thing that I'll just tell you that has just surprised me from a military standpoint. Guys, I told you I was in the Army for 28 years, and I finished my career doing a lot of division and corps level warfighting, chief of fires, chief of staff, and one of the things that just blows my mind when you always see things when you're at the tactical level, what you would do, how a division or how a corps should fight, and you saw that complex chart that we had with the four-pronged attack. At the division and the corps level, there's two things that have to happen, or your army is going to fail. And I think this is what's happened to Russia. You have to have great communication, and you have to have great logistics. If you can't do those two things, guys, your armies are going to fail miserably. And you look at the corps commanders, the 3-star type generals, the 2-star type generals, they have two missions. Their tactics are going to be fine. I'll just tell you they will, because the colonels and the lieutenant colonels and the tactical level units, those guys can fight. I promise you, when you have a battalion commander or a brigade commander that's been in to 20 to 25 years, they're going to know what to do tactically on the ground to get the job done. Okay, but here's the thing. You have to set the conditions for them with communications and logistics. And I'll tell you guys, I'm seeing that in Russia right now, and they didn't do that. And the Ukrainian army is cleaning their clock because they're not securing their locks. And I don't know what their communication's like, but if they're having this type of issues and all their logistical convoys are getting destroyed like this, what you're seeing there is a lack of communication. And I'll just tell you guys, when you get in that mountainous terrain and you get in that hilly terrain, it's hard to talk. And see, and this is why I didn't ever think Putin would do a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, because it's just logistically hard to sustain that army. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. When we talk about communications and logistics, you got to be able to talk to your forces, but the most thing is you got to get them fuel, you got to get them ammunition, you've got to get them food, you got to get them water, and you got to get spare parts. And what's going to happen is vehicles are going to break down, tracks are going to break, you're going to have flat tires. All these things are going to happen. You've got to rapidly fix those things. And if you don't, it's going to totally mess up your attack. Your convoy is going to get stalled. And then what's going to happen? You're going to have dirt teams shooting javelins at you. And that's exactly what's happening. And I'm really shocked to see this from a military standpoint. Now, with the Ukrainian army. Now, here's what I will tell you. And kind of what I think the way ahead is right now. First of all, I think you're going to see this incredible resolve that you have from the Ukrainian army. They're going to continue to fight this like a counterinsurgency. They're going to fight this decentralized. They're going to fight this, and I'm going to tell you guys, it's going to be very hard for Russia to go into these major cities and clear them out, especially Kiev. It's going to be tough. And this is where I think there's a chance that we could pray for that they don't take Kiev, because Ukraine, I think, is going to have enough people in there that they could probably hold on to their capital. But here's the horrid reality, and this is the horrid reality about war. A lot of people are going to die. And a lot of people have died. And we've got to pray for peace, because I'll tell you, wars are nasty. Wars are hard. We've got to pray that our European allies will step up and man up and come to the aid. Now, we're seeing Germany do some things they've never done. You guys know that when President Trump was off, he's trying to get Germany to get at least 2% of their GDP to defense. They have now committed $100 billion to refurbishing their defenses. They are now trying to move more munitions over to Ukraine, which is a first for them that they've never done in the history since World War II. And so we've got to make sure that Europe can stand by its own. And we need to see a strong Europe. We need to see a unified Europe against this. Now, what would I do, and what was way ahead for the U.S.? I'm going to tell you, let me start with what I would not do. I want to tell you guys, nukes are off the table, and people that would even think that are out of their mind. They just are. That would be Armageddon. It would be horrible. It would be catastrophic. So that's off the table. Second thing is, I think cyber's off the table. Because here's the thing. I think it was a politician, of course I think it was a politician, because they don't know what they're talking about most of the time, but a politician was saying the other day that they need to do a huge cyber attack into Russia. Now, I'll just tell you, here's what you got to do. Here's what you got to think of when we are talking about cyber warfare. Anything that we can do to Russia, they can do to us. Now, they're going to attack. If they do cyber attacks, guys, I'm just going to tell you, you could look at the things that you could see that they just talked about on the news the other night. I mean, look at all the vulnerabilities we have in the United States with cyber. And we've never seen a full-scale attack from Russia. We've had some, and you've had some from other countries, maybe North Korea or maybe Iran. But, guys, I'll tell you, getting into a cyber war with Russia would be very ugly as well. The third thing is, so that's two things we shouldn't do. The third thing that I don't like is a no-fly zone. Guys, that works when your country is like Kosovo or Bosnia. Or Iraq, we successfully did a no-fly zone. I personally, do not think we can do a no-fly zone over Ukraine and keep the Russian. That's going to lead us to a conflict. It just straight up is. You can't enforce it, and if you do try to enforce it, you're gonna start World War III. So I would say that the no-fly zone's off the table. Now, here's what I think we can do, and this is where I've been very disappointed in the Biden administration. The sanctions that they have right now have no teeth. I'll just tell you they don't. I mean, it's amazing that the lack of strategic sophistication that we're seeing right now. Here's what I'll tell you. The first thing that I would do is take the SWIFT banking system and isolate it to Russia, all of it. They haven't done that. They're doing little parts of it, but they're not isolating all of it, because I think the Biden administration is more worried about the economic impact that it might have on the United States when you take Russia out of it. I think that's already baked in. So that's the first thing that I would do. The second thing, as we look at this, right now we get 600,000 barrels of oil today from Russia. Tomorrow we're going to now, and I will tell you, the Biden administration is not going to do that. They're not going to do that. And we had energy independence. We could have got them as much natural gas they wanted. We could have got them oil they wanted, because here's what's happened in Germany. They're basically wind and solar. That's what they are. And we have got to get their dependence not off Russia. They're getting 70% of their energy from Russia. Putin knows this, so he's weaponized this. So we have got. This is where we win. This is where we can choke Russia. This is where we could choke Putin and get him back. Out of Ukraine, and that would be our prayer. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you, I would just ask in your churches. I would just ask that you just pray for the Ukrainian people. I ask that you would pray for the Russian people. They got a madman leading them, and we've got to pray that God would remove these madmen in the world. Because I will just tell you, folks, there's a lot of Christian mothers. There's a lot of anybody's mothers and children that are going to be the tragedies of this war. Now, I'm just going to also tell you guys, for everything that you're seeing there in Ukraine right now, I'm just going to tell you right now, there have been more Uyghurs killed in China in the last 6 months than probably any time in the last 2 years in Ukraine. I'll just tell you right now. And you're not going to catch up with the number of Uyghurs that the Chinese has killed. So I want you to put that in perspective. We should be mad about this. We should do everything we can to protect the Ukrainian people and to protect the national interests of the United States. But I'm going to tell you something, guys. China's doing the same thing with the Uyghur population, and it's probably worse. So I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. But pray for our country, that we would pray for our president, pray for our military, and pray for our national security team, that we would come up with viable courses of action that are not driven by politics, but are driven by sound national security decisions. And that, my brothers and sisters in Christ, is how we go bold. God bless you, and go bold.